Okay. And the first thing I want to say while we are recording is I'm going to start with telling off. I'm going to do finger wagging because some of you have been very self-critical, and I've heard loads of shoulds, and I've heard loads of descriptions about feeling like silly or feeling like, like the way you've described yourselves are not with love and they are not kind, and they want you to stop because your brain is unable to tell the difference between things you say on the inside and things other people say to you from the outside. So if you are talking to yourself critically, it's as if you've got somebody else constantly with you being critical. And if you don't want a constant critic on your shoulder, then you need to stop being the inner critic, because your brain literally can't tell the difference between you speaking and somebody else speaking to you. So as you're going through this stuff, I would like you to extend more compassion to yourself. And if you are reflecting, for example, on how this has affected you in the past, I would like you to try being more compassionate to yourself rather than being critical, because we don't heal if we're being critical of ourselves. Okay, it adds to our stress response. We need to extend that compassion that we are, if you're looking at the screen and you're listening to everybody else and you're probably being very compassionate towards them as you listen to them, I'd like you to extend that same level of compassion to yourself so that you are being kind to yourself and growing in that space. Okay, we're not going to have critical soil in which to grow our beautiful blossoms. It's a nice metaphor, isn't it? Okay. So okay, I'm going to jump around a little bit with what I'm saying, but it's all related to the things that you shared today. The first thing I wanted to talk about is precognitive impulses. Now, what these are is if you have a subconscious thought that suggests you should act, like, like a gut instinct that makes you think, oh, I should do that, or like you reach for something, like it's a precognitive level, or I should shout. Somebody's offended me and I'm going to shout at them, but you stop it. Okay. Even if it doesn't reach actual movement, there's been an activation of neural fibers that have activated muscle fibers. So let's say, for example, you saw a friend over the road, but it was quite busy, and you thought, oh, there's my friend, I'm going to shout their name. But then you went, oh no, I'll look like an idiot. There's loads of people around. I don't want to be like shouting across the road in this busy place for fear of judgment. And you don't shout. The thought activated the part of you that would shout. And so the muscles in your throat have already like been activated. And then that activation has got to go somewhere. It's like emotions are like a tap, right? Like if you had a garden hose with a tap attached and you turn the tap on, then you have your thumb over the end of the tap. If the like tap is turned on with your thumb over the end, but then you go, oh no, I won't turn the tap on, you turn it off. There might not have been quite enough water to go all the way through the hose pipe and come out the end, but that water's in the hose pipe somewhere, isn't it? It hasn't come out yet. And that's kind of what it's like with your body. That emotion hasn't come out anywhere, but it's still in there. So when we're doing something like breath work or yoga or walking or singing or something that activates our body where there is usually some level of vibration or movement, then the emotion comes out. So for Kirsten, that may have been in the yoga class. There might have been a completely unrelated emotion that you don't remember when you turned that tap on. And it might have been that there was lots of small ones and that hose was filling up and filling up and filling up. And it may be that it was actually quite full and your thumb was holding quite a lot of pressure back because it was repressing it. Okay. And then if you imagine that's then like building up that back pressure and all of a sudden it's going to come out. Which is what some of you also experience. If you're expressing that anger, it's because lots of little taps have gone on and there hasn't been a lot of mini releases. There's just been a back pressure because you haven't felt like you can express any of those emotions until boom, they've blown the top off the hose and it's gone all over the place and it's like a hose snaking around totally out of control with water flailing out of it. Okay, so that's kind of what that precognitive impulses do. So anytime you're being critical, you're actually stopping yourself doing the thing. Okay. So often, if you think, oh, I should do a thing, especially if something like this a should, because it's got heavy energy to it. But if you're thinking, oh, I should do exercise, and then you think to do the exercise, but then you think, oh, no, I better not because I haven't got the right gear or whatever, then that energy goes somewhere. Okay. So, and if it's got guilt and shame attached to it, it is going to leave a big imprint. So, the four emotions that get really heavily stuck, and the four that I spend lots of one-to-one sessions releasing for people, are guilt, shame, regret, and remorse. So, if you have got things you feel guilty about. So maybe you snapped at the kids and then you felt guilty about it. That's going to go somewhere. Okay. Shame. I'm so embarrassed that I did that. I'm so ashamed that I couldn't control myself. I'm so ashamed that I let rip on the person. That's going to have an impact. Things you regret doing. Wish I hadn't done that. And then things you feel remorseful for. So wish I hadn't got caught doing that. Wish no one had seen me doing that. So it's slightly different from I wish I hadn't done it. It's like I wish I hadn't done that in public. I've probably got more of that that's not recorded on phones these days. If I was growing up now, I would probably have a lot more remorse than I have. So anything that you think, oh, and but also remembering that those other people might have a memory of that. There is some level of remorse in there. So those four emotions, those are the big four that if you've got those in your body, they will be contributing constantly to your state of stress. Yeah, they're like in the stress bucket before you've even started every day. As we move through the program and we learn different ways of regulating, some of those emotions will come out. Okay. They might come out through the holes in your face, eyes, snot bubbles, gibbering, gibble. We might get it all. We might get shaking. You might just get like weird feelings in your body. Like it can come out all kinds of different ways. So just know that that's okay. If and when it happens, it's all cool. It's all fine. Sometimes I will be in yoga classes crying and I've got no idea what it's for, and it doesn't matter at all because my body is doing its thing. Okay, so we're not going to judge it or try and figure it out because emotions and logic, as we've seen from that three-part brain, they're not related to each other. So it doesn't matter what the emotion is doing. It will not make logical sense and it doesn't need to. So we can be compassionate about that when it happens. Okay. Everyone okay with that bit? All right. The next bit I wanted to talk about, there's two parts I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the experience that some of us have of dopamine nesting, which may involve cuddling up on the sofa with chocolate, hot chocolate, cups of tea, biscuits, blankets, all of the above, iPhone, iPad, all of the things. We basically build ourselves a little nest where we are trying to console ourselves by increasing our dopamine levels. We are doing it with really low grade dopamine, however. Okay. So, dopamine is like a neurotransmitter in our brain, it's a chemical in our brain that we get when we feel like we've done good things. We do get a tiny bit of it from dark chocolate. We do get a bit of it from sugar. We do get a bit of it from exercise. We get high grade dopamine from exercise, though. We get high grade dopamine from cold showers and dipping in cold water. Felicity's like that. No, I'm just, I'm taking the low grade. I'm taking the cheap stuff. We get higher grade dopamine from learning. Here's one, yeah, like learning, Duolingo or something like that. Yeah, you get some from that, serotonin and dopamine, nice little mixture when you do learning. What else you get really good dopamine from? You get better dopamine from being outside, and you get dopamine from laughing and doing fun stuff, which is why we often comfort seek familiar rom-coms and like Friends and like funny things. They tend to be on our go-to lists of comfort watching. Things that we can lighten the mood. Laughter is quite a good source of dopamine. So what we're doing is we're building ourselves a dopamine nest as like a sticky plaster, when really we need to go and put a plaster cast on by doing something that's got a bit of a higher grade dopamine attached to it. Okay, so often when we're feeling quite low, we will go into a dopa nest, and we can lose track of time there because it's an emotional state of being. So we drop into emotional state. Time doesn't exist in the emotional world, so we can lose track of time there, which is why you can fall into your phone and do a doom scroll and realize afterwards you look up, you've lost 45 minutes. There's no relationship with time when you're doing that. Rachel's saying 45, come on. At least.
You could do better than that. I do better than that. Give me, 2 hours maybe.
We may have patterns within our dopa nesting. So I have a little pattern that I know I'm doing, and I can break it, but it takes a lot of willpower to break it, where I play 2 games of solitaire cards, a game of jelly splash until I win a level, and then I go into Sudoku, and I do an easy, a medium, and a hard. But once I've finished the hard, I'm like, right, that's it. Come on. That's like the end point for me, unless I go back to another easy or I open solitaire again and then I'm back in the same loop. So I do have to watch what I'm doing, and I do have to I have to do it knowingly. Like I have to have, and I set alarms for things for myself quite a lot. Or I leave the dog in the garden, and that whenever the dog moves, I get a notification on my Apple Watch that there's somebody in the garden, and it vibrates. And that for me is sometimes a break state. So if people see the dog in the garden all day, like miserable, it's because she's keeping me from being on my phone all day, getting me out of my dopa nest and walking her instead. Okay, so that's what you're doing. You're dopa nesting if you're going into it. And dopamine is a driving factor for a lot of our behaviors for neurodivergent brains, because we light up more than typical brains do when we have dopamine in it. This is important in those mornings because we generally wake up, if we're night owls, we will wake up in a depleted state of dopamine. We're really low in dopamine. That's why it's so hard to get going, because we haven't got any in our system. And it looks a lot like depression when we're in that really low dopamine state. So it can be like really, really low. And we have to create, I call them dopa-morning routines. So we are trying to get dopamine up first thing in the morning. And I know what gets my dopamine up first thing in the morning, and it's my cold shower. So I have to fight my eyelids and the duvet cover and everything that's trying to keep me in my safe, warm bed to get into the shower, have it warm to start with, and then flick it on to cold for the last bit. Once I've done it, I'm like, yay, the day's begun and I'm okay now, and I'm kind of up and at 'em. But until I have, I will struggle. Other things, and the other thing is, if you have caffeine in that 1 hour window after you've first woken up, it gets in the way of your dopamine rising. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Linda. I'm so sorry to be the bearer of this news. Okay. What it does, if you have more stimulant as your body is trying to increase its natural level of stimulants, its natural cortisol levels in the morning, you basically stunt the natural cortisol rising. So cortisol is a stress hormone, but we need some of it to get us going during the day. We have a background level of cortisol. When we wake up in the morning, it rises. And I know when mine is rising because my temperature rises with it. I don't know if anybody else gets this, but literally I'm lying in bed and I'm like that. I'm just getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And any minute I'm going to have to go and get a cold shower to calm myself down. But I can feel like that cortisol rising. If I have caffeine and stunt it, I won't get going all day. and then I'll have to rely on caffeine, and probably sugar to replace cortisol rising. So if I can hold off 10 minutes, Linda, just give yourself an extra 10 minutes. Do another dopamine thing. Do it, get outside, do some stretching, deep breaths, something. Sit quietly. Listen to birdsong is a really nice thing for our cortisol to rise nice and safely. If we can hear birds, we know there's no predators, so our nervous system calms down and it allows that natural uplift in the morning. So thinking about that, what you can do to naturally lift that dopamine just in that first hour, and try and have something that is protein rich for your breakfast, not sugar and carb rich. Okay, so I'm all about dippy eggs and soldiers, fried egg on toast, baked beans on toast, something proteiny is really helpful for us because it doesn't start us on that carb cycle. Lucy, feeds the birds first thing. Yes, it really is connecting, calming, just spending time with. If we can see birds and we can hear them, we naturally feel safe. There've been radio stations, you know, where they've the pre-launch of the actual music station, they've put birdsong on as they've like opened the channel, and while they're doing the testing, they've played birdsong. And then when they've started and people have started tuning into it, and then when they've actually started playing music, people have complained because they quite liked the birdsong. And so like you'll be able to find digital radio channels that are just birdsong for this reason. Like it makes us feel safe and calm. So replacing some of those other stimulants with your body's natural stimulants just for that first hour. Once that first hour is out of the way and your body's leveled out, then you can stick it in with the caffeine.
So really, right? Did you say cortisol rises?
Yeah, so background cortisol.
That's a bad thing.
No, not all cortisol is bad. We have a resting level of cortisol in our system. So we have, if you didn't have any stress in your life, there'd be no reason to get out of bed in the morning, but there'd be no motivation. So we have cortisol as a, so when we're talking about stress, normally what we're actually talking about is distress. Okay, we're talking about the stress that is overflowing our bucket. But when we're doing something that's like really cool and we're really excited about it and it's quite good fun, or we're enjoying it, like I quite like driving my car. So that's quite a fun thing for me to do. I like, it's a level of focus. It's a level of have to like watch things, listen. It's good speed. Like there's things happening. Got the radio on. Like there's lots of input for me at a good level. That's eustress. That's good stress. That's activational stress. So those sorts of things, they're the sorts of things that are arousal that'll get you up into your window of tolerance. If you have too much stress, then you produce more cortisol, and then you've got it goes into that like hyper arousal state. But we need some cortisol to get us going and have any sort of motivation or go at all. So we do need some, and it lifts naturally in the morning. If you wake up between sort of like 3 and 4 in the morning, having had nightmares and things like that, that's elevated cortisol from the day before. Okay, so that's staying up too late watching horror films or feeding more and more dopamine too late into the night. So when we're night owling, but we're also waking up in the early hours, that's a cortisol dopamine cycle that you're in. Okay, does anyone have that?
Can I ask on that one?
Yes.
So I'm an early bird. I'm like up in the morning, raring to go. Don't do it in the evenings, but most nights I wake up between 2 and 3 a.m. which is very frustrating. I tend to read my book for an hour and then I can go back to sleep. But I mean, I go to bed at like 10:30, so I'm not staying up.
I'm like Felicity, same here, Felicity. And I was going to ask exactly the same question. What if exactly you're a lark, you go to bed at quite a good bedtime, you have a bedtime routine, but you're still waking up?
So it's a sign that in the background you're still dysregulated.
Probably.
So all of the stuff that we're going to do, don't worry, I've got you. This isn't a quick fix, right? We're here together for a year because we can't fix this overnight. Yeah, it can't be done. Your body's regulation, like you can be regulated in the moment and be like, yeah, okay, I'm calm, I'm not anxious, I'm not depressed, I'm okay, I'm in the middle. But like for it to iron out and not be peaking and troughing throughout the days and the and the nights of your life, it's going to take time to what we do is we widen that window of tolerance so you can be in all of those zones and still be okay and still get a good night's sleep and still be able to not react to things and feel like you're on top of it. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to like get you to get from the extremes into your window of tolerance and then widen your window of tolerance so that fewer things flip you out of it. Okay. So like today, it was really funny. I was walking up to Hailsham and I was on the crossing and the car decides it's going to go across the crossing while I'm on the crossing. And my justice sensitivity will not allow that to happen without challenge. So I make myself like that. It's a crossing. Because I do it every time. And this woman in the car was all like that. And I was like, I'm on the crossing at this point. But like, there's no stress response because inside I'm laughing because I think this is hilarious. Like, look at your face, your Hailsham, like, I don't know. And I was like, I thought it was really funny, but it didn't. I like literally walked off the crossing really slowly because I'd stopped her by then, and like walked up the road. But there's no residual stress response. And that's the difference. That doesn't come quickly. That took a long time to get there. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is everybody okay with kind of where we're at with like why we have to learn to manage this dopamine thing so that we can sleep well and we can get up in the morning and also sleep all night and then run it again the next day.
Can I just say then, is that drop into hypo arousal, is that your cortisol disappearing?
It's not cortisol. That one is not cortisol, no.
Right.
So what happens when you are in that anxiety state, okay? So if you've watched the training and people go into that hyper arousal and you've gone through flight, fight, and you might have gone into a freeze response where you've kind of gone like, now I don't know what to do. And you might feel like you're starting to back off. There is an extent of that where you fall, that the freeze response has got different parts to it. So it's got the initial part, which is the actual freeze, but you're still conscious of it. Then it's got like a fawn response. So especially for women, if we are in a situation, because our only current natural predator is men, then we have a fawn response, which is quite well developed, that we would then say, I've talked myself out of this situation. Yeah, you're great. Now I'll give you a call. I really will. Like that kind of fawning response to keep us safe. We then have a flop response. Now, what that means is if we were about to be eaten by a bear, we know, our brain knows that's going to be an unpleasant, painful experience. Okay. What it does is our vagus nerve that I talk about quite a lot, the one that we're trying to regulate all the time. Usually when we're active, it's the front of that nerve. It's called our ventral vagus. So anything ventral is to do with your chest cavity at the front. So if you think about like your heart muscles, the bottom parts are called the ventricles. So anything that's related to venting, breathing, that kind of thing is to do with your chest cavity. What happens when we feel like we're at that extreme and we need to not be present to that? It's horrible, it's traumatic, or we're at our limit and we no longer want to be doing this. The ventral vagal switches over at the base of our brain to the dorsal vagal, and dorsal is related to the back. So like, when you see the film Jaws, the fin that you see is his dorsal fin. It's on the back. Dorsal is the back. And when the dorsal vagal takes over, it will drop you. Okay, so it will physically drop you. It might faint. It might flop you out. You may be conscious enough to like get to bed or onto the sofa, or, you know, like somewhere safe. You know, your brain like protects you. It's a protective mechanism. So it will often get you to somewhere safe and then drop you. And while you're there, that's a full shutdown. Okay, this isn't low mood. This is full shutdown. Your brain is unable to think. It's a cannot, not a will not. And it's reduces pain. You won't feel any pain in your body while this happens because it's there to relieve you from pain. You won't be able to make a decision. You won't be able to think. You may not be able to speak properly. It may look like you're having a stroke because it is so shutting down of all of your system. Okay, so this is like your body's last resort. It's about to get ripped apart by a bear. That's going to hurt. I don't want you to experience that. I don't want you to be conscious to it. I don't want you to be present to it. I'm going to drop you out of it. Okay. And this is why in some instances where people have, for example, been sexually assaulted, they've been on almost like in an unconscious state during the attack. Their body has shut them down out of it because it's so unpleasant. It's so traumatizing. And people will say afterwards, why didn't you do a thing? And it's a cannot. I could not. I was in dorsal vagal shutdown. My body had shut down. It was so unpleasant. I was unconscious to it. Okay. So it's a really protective mechanism. And your body won't get you out of it until it's ready to come out of it. So I don't know if any of you have got cats that hunt and they bring you in like a little animal that looks dead and it drops it on the mat and you think, oh, there's a dead mouse. And about 3 minutes later, the mouse gets up and shakes itself off and makes a run for it. Okay, possums do it when they play dead. They're like, they go into a dorsal vagal response. They're dead. So they're not huntable by prey species. And then when the bird has flown away, they give themselves a shake and they get back out of it. How long that takes isn't consciously up to you. It's however long your nervous system feels like it needs to recover from it. I went into a dorsal vagal recently and I knew what it was as it happened. And I went into it very gradually. So it was when I was cycling the first day of my South Downs Way route. And I'd been cycling for nearly 8 hours. I hadn't done any training and I didn't have my electric bike. I was totally self-powered. We'd been up and down the downs. I looked at my heart rate data afterwards. My heart rate had been peaking and troughing all day. My body was nearing a really exhausted state. We went to this in Queen Elizabeth Country Park. And there's like a little shop in there. I went into the shop. I was like, I need Coca-Cola. I need caffeine and I need sugar and I need it now. I went into the shop. It didn't have Coca-Cola. And I looked at all of the other things and I could not make a decision. There was no, I was like, oh, hang on a minute. I can't, they haven't got what I want and I can't make a decision. I couldn't process anything else. And I went outside and I told Emma that I was like, right, the real possibility now is that I cannot cycle the rest of today's planned route and I want us to get a taxi from here. And I literally put my foot down and then I lay on there's like a bench outside the shop there. I just lay down and still had my helmet on. And I remember because my helmet was like rocking against the bars of the bench and I got myself into a comfortable position and I'd shut down. And I just let Emma sort it all out because I trusted that she would, like she had phone charge and she phoned her wife and they got taxi numbers and sorted and all that kind of stuff. And when we got the call from the guy with his minivan to say that he could come and collect us, I said to him, I feel like I'm having this out of body experience where I'm being like flooded and it feels like relief, but I knew it wasn't relief. I knew it was endorphin. I knew what it was. It was my body coming out of the dorsal vagal shutdown because there was a taxi on the way, so I was safe. And I didn't have to get on my bike again and cycle. And it's because I wasn't on, if I was on my own, I wouldn't have gone into a dorsal vagal shutdown because I'd have had to solve it myself. But because I had somebody I trusted to do that, then it was almost like my body was like, yes, you don't need to sort this. She's very capable of looking after you. And the other thing is I can only go into it. I've only ever had it twice when I've been around other very capable people. My mechanism at the moment is that I wouldn't do it if I was by myself for those kinds of reasons. And I know it's a trauma response. So, but like when you shut down, it's not like, oh, I just have a little lie down here and then I'll feel better in 10 minutes. It's like the blinds to cross. Okay. Yes, Felicity.
Can I just share a little bit on this? So I've had a lot of these over my life. I never knew what they were until we had a little chat. But it's really hard to explain to people that in those moments I'm not lying on the sofa resting and relaxing. I did it the other day. I spent 3 hours on the sofa and I physically couldn't move. It's like I've been paralyzed, or like, I've been given some sort of anesthetic. The cat jumped on my lap. I can't stroke him. My thoughts are still going, but they're very foggy. And yeah, I'm not really that aware of what's happening. I'm not aware of how long time has passed. I was quite shocked when I finally was able to get up. But it's really, and the other thing is I'm exhausted after it, even though I've been lying there absolutely still, not being able to do anything. Afterwards, I am just absolutely shattered. And yeah, this has happened to me a lot of times and I've never understood what it was. So I just want to say thank you, Zoe, for explaining it.
I'm saying, Felicity, and actually that's why I can find the label of chronic fatigue so frustrating, because it's not like I'm a bit fatigued. It's like a major thing. My body is just going vroom. Yeah. Or it's really activated. And so that I've just put this in the chat as well. It's happened to me quite often, but the thing I wanted to ask is, what if you have had occasions where you haven't felt safe and you've had to override? I mean, I've got quite a strong will, and heaven knows at those not handful of occasions really, where I've had to override the shutdown, and it's resulted in like really horrible months of trying to sort of reconnect to my body because it's been so unnatural. So my question is, what happens if you've had that situation that you've described, but you've had to override it because there isn't perhaps anybody there to help you? So you have a nice capable friend or a safe space or a kind person.
Yeah, so we often think about the process as being like an out and back. Like we're going, we go through flight, fight, freeze, flop, and then we've got to get ourselves back to neutral. It's cyclical. It's not out and back. We have to close the loop. And it's a trauma loop. So we go through flight, fight, flop, or freeze, fawn, flop. And then we have to come out the other side through integration and co-regulation. So we cannot come out of it on our own fully. If you think about this, our neurology doesn't ever feel totally safe on its own. We're a social species, which is why isolation is so damning and so destroying for us, and so used as such a bad punishment, because being on our own is itself stressful. Now, a lot of like therapy and stuff like that is like you doing the thing on your own, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring us together as a group, actually, because if you think about how tribes that face real and present danger, who act in more ancestral ways, if you like, would deal with a stress. Let's say there was a tribe and they'd gone hunting and somebody very nearly bought it. They got a bit close to the bear or whatever they were hunting, whatever, it went bad or wrong. What would happen is they would tell other people what had happened. And we don't often do that because of shame. So what traditionally would happen is you would tell other people what would happen, and then they would like physically bandage you up, help fix you, and then you would have generally some kind of integration whereby you would dance or sing or chant or play drums and integrate it through your body, process that physically through your body with other people. Then together you would decide as a tribe, how are we going to fix this problem? Okay, so let's say Rachel had gone down to the river from our cave, like our little tribe cave. She'd gone down to the river by herself to fill up a water bottle. And while she was there, she was very nearly attacked by a bear. It came out of nowhere. She heard it, she smelt it, she legged it. So she did a flight response. It cornered her. She thought she was going to get it. She like poked it with a stick, threw water at it. She thought, oh God, the bear's going to get me. It kind of took a swipe at her, but she shouted and somebody rescued her, whatever. Like she came back to the tribe, a bit beaten up. And we would like look after her, bandage her up, ask her what happened. And then once we'd had our celebratory dance and we'd, you know, maybe Rachel would become part bear sister, or there'd be some kind of ritual around this trauma, right? And then we would decide, okay, we need to either put bear alarms where we are on the river, or everyone needs to carry a whistle, or we need to go in pairs. Like we would solve the problem together, and then it would be fully integrated, and then we would come back to rest. So a lot of our methods are still as if we're trying to go out and back. And we need to close the loop. We need to integrate this together. We need to co-regulate with other people. And we need to do some of this healing in together. That we need to let go of the shame and embarrassment and feel like we have to do it all on our own, because we don't work that way. Like our neurology will never fully heal in isolation. Okay? So hopefully, I know I've kind of gone around a circle there, literally. But hopefully that will answer why it takes us so long. If we're trying to do it on our own, it's quite debilitating to get out of that loop, to close that loop on our own. Okay. Oh, we've gone well over time. Sorry there, ladies. I hope that's been okay. Has that addressed lots of the things that came up for you from the trainings? Yeah? Amazing. Okay. Next week on Monday, your content drop will be all about your sensory systems, and you will be having a look at each of your senses and looking at what is pleasurable and what isn't. And we're going to look at your like levels of tolerance for different things, and some things may be aware and when, because we might like loud, busy places sometimes, but not for too long. Or we might notice that if we're in a loud, busy place for a time, we need some time to recover from it in nice, quiet isolation afterwards. So we're going to be looking at your different senses and what supports and what hinders in each of those areas, so that we can get you recognizing what it's like when you are regulated. So which bring you up and which bring you down. Sound like a plan? Amazing. Okay, fantastic. Well, it's been so lovely to see you all. Has anybody got any final questions or observations before we close the call today?
So when's the next ones, the lives? I can't do the morning ones, but when's...
Next one will be a morning one, so that'll be next week, because we're back on the first week in May, aren't we? Next, are we next week? First week in May, is that right?
Yeah. I know, 1st of May.
Yeah, it goes quick, doesn't it? Yeah. So first Thursday of the month is a morning one, and then third Thursday of the month is going to be an evening one. Yeah. So next week is the 1st of May, and then it's going to be the 15th of May will be the next evening one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing, fantastic. Kirsten can't do next week. Are you off on a tour, Kirsten? Let me see anything. Away working all week, got a tour on. Lovely.
Yeah, it's a full week, starting Saturday to next Saturday.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Make sure you're looking after yourself during that time.
I know, that's what I'm just thinking, like how to try. But the good thing is it's a crafters knitting group. So it's really, really good. And apparently it's all Americans, and there's an American what she called herself, knitting rock star. So I'm going to see what that's gonna be like. So I look
Wow.
forward to it. I'm excited, but I know it will be all full on and really like long hours and everything. So I'll need to put some TLC in there for myself.
Yeah, moments of breath work, moments of settling
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Fantastic. All right then, ladies, we'll look out for your next content drop on Monday. It's an absolute pleasure seeing you all. And don't forget, you can ask anything at any time in the WhatsApp group as well, or you can email me. It's absolutely fine.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Lots of love to you all. Bye.